The invitation had come in the mail a week before. It was a simple card, elegant and cryptic, embossed with gold lettering that read, "You are cordially invited to a night of wonder at the House of Mirrors, an experience you won't forget." The address was unfamiliar, tucked away in the outskirts of town. Curiosity gnawed at me, as did a hint of unease. But I had a knack for adventure and a thirst for the unusual, so I convinced a few friends to join me. Mark, Jess, and Lila. The night of the event, we drove through winding back roads, trees looming over us like dark sentinels. The sun dipped below the horizon, surrendering the sky to the deep blues and purples of dusk. My excitement mingled with trepidation, a cocktail of emotions that made me feel alive. Finally, we arrived at the House of Mirrors. The structure loomed before us, a sprawling mansion that looked like it had been lifted from a fairy tale. A Gothic fairy tale, perhaps. It was adorned with ornate carvings and gilded frames that glinted in the fading light. A large sign out front read, "Enter at your own risk." My heart raced at the thought of what lay within. As we approached the door, I noticed the strange aura around the house. It was as if the air itself was charged with anticipation. I glanced back at my friends, their faces lit with a mix of eagerness and apprehension. We shared nervous laughter, a sign that we were all feeling the same thrill. The door creaked open as we approached, revealing a dark hallway lined with mirrors on both sides. The reflections twisted and distorted our images, making us appear elongated and surreal. A shiver ran down my spine as I stepped inside, and the door closed behind us with a finality that felt almost ominous. "Welcome," a voice called out, echoing down the hall. It was warm and inviting but tinged with an unsettling undertone. An elderly man emerged from the shadows, his face obscured by the flickering candlelight. He wore a dark suit and a bow tie, exuding an air of mystery. "I am the keeper of this house. You are in for a unique experience tonight," he said, gesturing for us to follow him deeper into the house. I exchanged glances with Mark, Jess, and Lila, our expressions a mix of excitement and unease. We trailed after the man, our footsteps echoing eerily in the hall. He led us into a grand ballroom, the mirrors covering the walls creating the illusion of infinite space. The room was empty, save for a few small tables draped in black velvet and scattered with bizarre trinkets. A grand chandelier hung from the ceiling, its crystals glimmering in the dim light. "Tonight, you will each embark on a journey of self-discovery," the keeper announced, his voice reverberating off the mirrored walls. "Each mirror holds a story, a reflection of your inner self. Are you ready to face what lies within?" I glanced at my friends. Their faces showed a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. "Sure, why not?" Mark replied, a smirk on his face. Lila nodded enthusiastically, while Jess looked uncertain. I felt a surge of adrenaline as the keeper guided us toward the first mirror. The mirror was ornate, its frame intricately carved with swirling patterns. "Step forward," the keeper instructed, his voice soothing yet commanding. "Gaze into the mirror and discover what it reveals." One by one, we stepped up to the mirror. I watched as Jess approached first, her reflection shimmering oddly. She gazed intently into the glass, her expression shifting from curiosity to confusion, then to fear. "What is happening?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I can't see anything unusual," I reassured her, though I felt a knot forming in my stomach. Suddenly, Jess recoiled, stumbling back from the mirror. "I don't want to do this anymore," she cried, her face pale. "It showed me things I don't want to see." The keeper watched her with an enigmatic smile, his eyes glinting with something dark. "It is only a reflection of what lies within. You cannot hide from your own truths," he said calmly. Lila stepped up next, her confidence unwavering. As she gazed into the mirror, I could see her expression transform, a mix of wonder and horror washing over her. "This is incredible," she exclaimed, but then gasped, stepping back abruptly. No, I can't." This isn't real. What did you see? I asked, my heart racing. I can't explain it, she stammered, shaking her head. It was like I was losing myself. Mark went next, stepping up to the mirror with a bravado that masked his unease. But as he looked in, his face fell. This isn't right, he muttered, taking a step back. This is just wrong. Dread seeped deeper into my bones. We need to leave, I whispered, glancing around the ballroom. The keeper, however, stood unmoving, his gaze fixed on us. Do you not want to face your fears? He taunted, his voice like honey but laced with venom. You've only just begun to scratch the surface of your true selves. I think we've seen enough, I said firmly, trying to push past him. But he blocked my path, his smile twisting into something sinister. Not so fast, he growled. You are not done yet. You cannot escape what you have invited in. I glanced at my friends, who were huddled together, visibly shaken. We need to go. Now, I urged, feeling a surge of determination. The atmosphere thickened with an unsettling energy as we began to back away. The keeper raised his hand, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. You cannot leave until you confront your reflections. The house won't let you go until it has fed on your fears. The lights flickered, and the mirrors around us warped, twisting our reflections into grotesque caricatures. I felt a wave of nausea as I caught sight of my reflection. A distorted, monstrous version of myself with dark shadows under my eyes and a sinister grin stretching across my face. No, I cried, stumbling back. This isn't real. The keeper laughed, a low, mocking sound that echoed through the room. It is as real as you make it. Face it, or remain trapped in the shadows of your fears. Lila, still shaking, took a deep breath. I won't let this control me, she said, her voice quaking but resolute. I refuse to be afraid. She stepped forward, confronting her reflection. Show me, she shouted, her voice breaking the tension in the air. The mirror rippled, revealing a scene of her greatest fear. A loss of identity, a life devoid of meaning. But instead of flinching, Lila stood firm. You do not define me, she yelled. The mirror shattered, sending shards flying in all directions. The sound echoed like a thunderclap, and the keeper staggered back, momentarily taken aback. Lila, I shouted, but she was already moving back to our side, her face flushed with triumph. You have to confront it, she urged, her eyes wide with determination. Jess stepped forward next, trembling. I can't. What if it shows me something worse? She whispered. You have to face it, Mark shouted, his fear giving way to urgency. You can't let it win. With a nod, Jess approached the mirror, her body quaking with fear. I'm ready, she said, though her voice barely rose above a whisper. As she looked into the glass, her reflection contorted, revealing the dark thoughts that plagued her. Insecurities, failures, the fear of not being enough. Tears filled her eyes, but she took a deep breath. This does not control me, she whispered, her voice gaining strength. I am more than my fears. The mirror trembled, and with a sudden burst of energy, it cracked, splintering into a million pieces. The sound of glass shattering resonated through the ballroom, sending shards raining down around us. With the mirrors breaking, I felt a shift in the atmosphere. The weight of dread began to lift, and the keeper's expression turned from confidence to anger. You fools, he hissed. You think you can escape so easily? I turned to Mark, who had been watching silently. It's your turn, I urged him. You have to confront it. Mark hesitated, but the urgency in our voices propelled him forward. Fine, he said, stepping up to the last mirror. As he gazed into it, I could see the turmoil on his face. What do you see? I asked, my heart racing. It's showing me my failures, he said, his voice strained. Everything I've messed up. Fight it, I shouted. You are not your failures. With a deep breath, Mark clenched his fists. I refuse to let this define me. he roared, his voice booming through the hall. The mirror reacted violently, cracking and shattering as he confronted his inner demons. I felt the energy shift. The dark presence in the room began to fade. "Stop this," the keeper yelled, but his voice lacked the power it once had. "You cannot break the enchantment. Watch us," I said defiantly, stepping forward to face the keeper directly. "We're stronger than you think." With that, the remaining mirrors shattered, and the house began to shake around us. The walls quivered, and the lights flickered wildly. The keeper's face twisted in rage, but I felt a surge of hope and resilience from my friends, a collective strength that was too powerful for him to contain. In a final surge of energy, we joined hands, forming a circle of solidarity. Together, I shouted, and we all chanted, "We will not be afraid." The house trembled violently. The walls shook as if the structure itself was in agony. Then, with a deafening roar, the house began to crumble. The mirrors imploded into a swirl of glass and light. We stumbled backward, the force knocking us to the ground. But as the dust settled, I realized we were outside, lying in the grass. The mansion was gone, replaced by an empty lot. The night sky stretched endlessly above us, stars twinkling in the aftermath. "What just happened?" Jess gasped, sitting up in shock. "We broke free," Lila breathed, a smile breaking across her face. "We confronted our fears," Mark nodded, still in disbelief. "I can't believe it actually worked." As we helped each other to our feet, a sense of camaraderie enveloped us, a shared understanding of our resilience. We had faced the darkness within us, and together we emerged stronger. We stood together, catching our breath as we looked at the empty space where the House of Mirrors had once stood. It was a reminder of our journey, a testament to our strength. That night marked a turning point for us. We shared stories, laughter, and even tears as we processed our experiences. The bonds we formed became unbreakable, rooted in the realization that we could confront our fears, not just in the house, but in our lives. In the days that followed, I reflected on the experience, feeling grateful for the challenge that had pushed us to our limits. The fears that had once loomed large now felt smaller, more manageable, as we learned to confront them head-on. The House of Mirrors may have been a strange and terrifying place, but it ultimately gifted us the courage to face the darkness within. We had emerged from the shadows, and together, we knew we could tackle whatever lay ahead. It wasn't just about conquering fears, it was about understanding that we were not alone. Each of us had our own reflections, but together, we formed a tapestry of strength, resilience, and unwavering support. As I looked around at my friends, I felt a sense of hope blossom within me. The future was uncertain, but with them by my side, I knew we could face anything. No matter how daunting, the journey had just begun, and we were ready to embrace it together.